Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Joel True and Love, here with another AEW Dynamite review. This time for New Year's Smash, Night 2, on the January 13th edition. It was a fun show. Bunch of things happened. We had a grudge match between Kingston and PAC. We had, of course, the TNT Championship match between Brian Cage and Darby Allin in the main event. Was a solid showing. Also, we got the Elite reforming tonight. But hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you're new, like and subscribe. Click on that bell as well in order to find my reviews, my predictions. You'll find it all there. But thank you for joining me, and going to be going over the show now, shall we? Before I go into review, however, one thing of note on the show is tonight we were supposed to get Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker, but I assume Thunder Rosa came in close contact with someone who had COVID. It was unfortunately taken off the show. So tonight we actually got the debut at the waiting room for AEW Dynamite. And we found out that on Beach Break in a couple weeks on AEW Dynamite, we'll be getting Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa in that anticipated matchup. So now, again to the review. So we start off with a bang. It was Kingston Vs PAC grudge match. Obviously, this building for weeks since PAC's return. They played a nice video package beforehand, documenting the events leading up to this match, with Kingston enlisting the help of the Lucha Brothers, Butcher and Blade, trying to drive a wedge in between the Lucha Brothers and PAC. Of course, return to reform the Death Triangle with the Lucha Brothers. And so that was a nice promo package up to this point. But this match was good. Was a fast start by PAC. It was a, as usual, hard-hitting affair, as it always is with Kingston style matches. So, getting into this match, later part of the match, Kingston, he landed a Saito suplex on PAC for a near fall. They were exchanging strikes, and Kingston was on the top rope, and PAC hit a devastating enziguri to the back of Kingston's head, and you could tell, man, he was dazed. Looking at his eyes, crossed, and then PAC hit a brutal superplex for a near fall. Then the finish match, PAC had the advantage. And then PAC finished it off with the Black Arrow for the win. Afterwards, he walked on the Brutalizer on Kingston. and Butcher and Blade, who were at ringside, came in to help out Kingston, and then the Lucha Brothers came out to even the odds. Dang it, I hate these pop-ups on my computer. There we go. So then Lance Archer came out to scare off a Kingston. I imagine that if I had to guess that this feud is still building, and I think at Revolution, because I mean, Archer, he doesn't really have anything to do besides his Kingston feud. So, a triple threat match, perhaps between the three, Archer, Kingston, and PAC at Revolution. That's my prediction, but subject to change. We'll see, but should be interesting to see what matches still escalates from this feud. So then we had Chuck Taylor versus Miro. This match obviously built up from last week with the injury to Trent. This was a okay match. Miro won with a big kick and the game over. Chuck tapped, meaning that he will be Miro's servant, and he looked over at Orange Cassidy, who was at ringside, and he said, "You're next." So obviously this feud is still happening, and we're going to get a match sometime between Miro and Orange Cassidy, which should be interesting. So then we had a backstage segment with Matt Hardy and Private Party. Matt Hardy, he was basically being the dictator of Private Party. Private Party announced that they were not happy, and that Hardy announced that with their contracts, he would take 30% of their earnings, and Private Party was not happy about it. Hardy kept, he's kind of with this iconic gimmick, he's basically channeling this like dick prick bully persona, and I don't know, I mean, perhaps Matt Hardy uses the Private Party to win matches. I'm not sure, but we'll see what stems from all this. So then we had the Inner Circle came out to the ring and announced their New Year's resolutions. So Hager said championships. MJF said no more obese people, and also to continue the bonds he has with the people in the Inner Circle. Jericho said he and MJF will be tag team champions, and there was a weird little escalation, and at the end they announced that next week there will be an Inner Circle tag team match, 3-way tag team match between Santana Ortiz, MJF, and Jericho, and Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. And the winners of that match will be the tag team, the premier tag team of the Inner Circle. So, nice little dynamic. Santana Ortiz, they haven't really been shining as a tag team in a while. So it'd be nice if they win, and this is the starting point back on the road to the tag team championships. I don't know, but we'll see. Jericho also talked about their Matt Hager and Wardlow's match last week, blowing off scene, and Wardlow just smirked, and Hager was not happy, but it was a good segment. I'm curious to see how the match goes down next week. Should be interesting, though. Then we had a nice little backstage segment with the Dark Order. They were like in a bar. You couldn't really tell, but they were with Marvez, and he interviewed Evil Uno and asked about what the next step is for the Dark Order, and that next week the Dark Order will team with Hangman on Page, who is right there having a drink at the bar. And John Silver's asked him, when is he going to give them a decision about being in the Dark Order? And they're all like, oh, next week, after the match. And Hangman was like, okay, next week I'll give you guys a decision. So Silvers and the Dark Order were celebrating like Hangman had already made up his decision, and then they cut away and showed Hangman. He was just looking at them celebrating. It was like a weird kind of look, and it was just funny, but it's odd because with the passing of Brody Lee, there was some idea that perhaps beforehand that there would have been a feud between Hangman and Brody Lee. But now, obviously, things have changed. And now this Hangman Dark Order feud has been kind of iffy. There's not really much for either side. So perhaps they continue on this. And, Hangman is a popular figure, one of the best talents in AEW. Excuse me. So perhaps he can shine some light on the Dark Order that now, without Brody, that they kind of lost some of the luster, basically. So next we had the Elite in action. So Omega, Callis, and the Bucks were backstage being interviewed right before their match. And so they were talking about getting the band back together. And Young Bucks talked about, hey, let's do our entrance, the elite entrance. So Don Callis was like, no, let's do it separate. I like your guys' music. So they fist bumped, they shook hands. So Omega made his over top entrance. And, excuse me, Omega, after his entrance, and Don Callis took the microphone and talked about the band being back together, talked about he was building it up, building up the entrance of his tag team partners, the band being back together. So then he said, "You're world tag team champions, the Good Brothers." So then, confusing, then Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, they were somewhere in the distance, over the barricade, and they were there, and it was not Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, it was Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers that were teaming for this matchup. So we got them versus the Varsity Blondes and Danny Limelight. This was, a glorified jobber match. I mean, as we know that, or most know, that Omega and the Good Brothers, Saturday at Impact's pay-per-view Hard to Kill, will face the Motor City Machine Guns and Impact World Champion Rich Swann. So this was a nice little advertisement for this match. And Gallows and Anderson make their AEW in-ring debut. But this nice match, in the end, Varsity Blondes, Limelight got offense in, but there was no way they were going to beat Omega and the Good Brothers. If this was Monday Night Raw, probably, but Right Team won. Magic Killer by Gallows and Anderson for the win. I mean, first off, before I get into the aftermath of the match, I will say that Varsity Blondes, Brian Pillman Jr. and Gareth Garrison are both talented. They're both, that said, they're green in the ring still, and their look is kind of vanilla. I think they need help because, they're young, they got talent. They're much like Top Flight and the Acclaimed. Well, the Acclaimed, they have their gimmick, they have a better look. I think Varsity Blondes, they need kind of a rehash type of look, gimmick, and perhaps they can further down their talents in the tag team division. But, they were used here as like enhancement talent, but still the right team won. Then at the end, after match, John Moxley's music hit, and he came out to attack the Elite, the Omega and the Good Brothers, but 3-on-1 assault, and then Lucha Brothers and others came out for the aid of Moxley. It just boiled over into a brawl. Then the Young Bucks came out to... Actually, it was kind of hilarious. During the match, Young Bucks were watching a monitor with Tony Khan and the Dasha Gonzalez, and Tony Khan, he was looking at the monitor with like a smirk on his face. It was hilarious, but you can tell by the Young Bucks' expression they had not or were not aware this was happening. So then during the brawl, the Young Bucks came out, tried to sort things out with Moxley, and then they got their own super kick party from the Lucha Brothers, and the brawl continued. Omega and Callis fled the scene, and pretty much dimmed down after that, and Moxley left. So there's that. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Moxley shows up at Hard to Kill Saturday night and has an interference or somewhat during the 6-man tag team match between Omega and the Good Brothers and Motor City Machine Guns and Rich Swann. But we'll see. Clearly, we're getting another match out of these two. So, little pieces of how, last week there was the conflicted too sweet symbol. Now, tonight there was confliction for Young Bucks being passed over for the Good Brothers. So, interesting to see what they do next week to further along this development. But all in all, good segment and fine match for what it was. So then we had the AEW Dynamite debut of the waiting room, Britt Baker's waiting room, with Reba, and because for those who have watched Dark, I watch in pieces that the waiting room has been kind of a staple on AEW Dark for the last few weeks. Now it's made its way to Dynamite because it's a good segment, and this was a good segment for the pieces that I enjoyed. So, Reba introduced Britt Baker, and she was having fun with the makeshift crowd that was there. Then she introduced Cody Rhodes. He came in, said some words, thanked them all, and then I stopped paying attention to the segment. I literally wanted to probably go to the bathroom, or make dinner because I didn't know how long it was going to be, because Jade Cargill came in, and honestly, I muted the TV because I don't want anything to do with this whole Jade Cargill, Brandy Rhodes Cody Rhodes crap. So I muted the TV, and Cargill said some things to Cody about Brandy being pregnant, and Brandy came in. They brawled. The members of AEW Women's Division, they separated them. I mean, it's just... I didn't want anything to do with it. So after Brandy and Jade and Cody left, I paid attention again to the segment. So then they showed on the monitor, or excuse me, on the Chintron, that recap of the attack by Britt Baker and Reba on Thunder Rosa from weeks ago. So then they had a message from Thunder Rosa, who is on the Chinatron. She said to Britt Baker at some point, she said some Spanish or Portuguese that at some point you have to quit the talk and get into the ring. And Tony Khan has given us a big stage, and that at Beach Break it will happen. So they announce it on the Titantron, like I said earlier. Britt Baker for Thunder Rosa at Beach Break. So, some more anticipation. They can build the story more until then. Couple weeks. I mean, yes, kind of a downer. We don't get this match yet, but in a couple weeks. I mean, can't be an interesting match because we know how good Thunder Rosa is. And we know how good they want Britt Baker to be. It's just she needs a boost. I mean, we know her character, we know her look. It's just she needs that boost when it comes to in-ring, basically competition, and the AEW Women's Division lacks talent. So put her in the ring with the best that the AEW Women's Division has currently, Thunder Rosa, and should be interesting. So then we had FTR versus Jurassic Express. Now, when I came back to see this match, I was confused. Maybe they mentioned it on commentary, but I didn't follow that it was FTR versus Jungle Boy and not Luchasaurus, but Marco Stunt. That maybe there's an injury with Luchasaurus, I don't know. But, I mean, with Marco Stunt in the match and not Luchasaurus, that takes out a bit of excitement and intrigue for the match. But still, it was an okay match. We know how this match has been stemming for a few weeks. Jungle Boy, he did well. Top rope Hurricanrana for a 2 count. Marco, he did a Dudley Dog, or whatever you call it, the slice spread that turns into a cutter for a near fall. And then totally at the end of the match, he threw Marco Stunt into the ring post behind the referee's back. Jungle Boy, he got blindsided. And then FTR hit the Goodnight Express on Marco for the win. I mean, right team won. FTR, they keep building that momentum. I'm curious where they go because Young Bucks, I don't know. It's like, are they fringing on? It feels like almost they're back to tweener. Uh, it's like back and forth. You don't know if they're fringing on heel because they're developing that Bullet Club or the club reunion. So I'm not sure, or if FTR will have to wait for the Bucks to lose the titles. I'm not sure, but we'll see. But right, good win for FTR. Then we had the first of two title matches. We had Serena Deeb versus Ty Conti for the NWA Women's Championship. Ty Conti was there with Anna Jay. I mean, they're a pair that's growing better and better, I would say, week by week. Ty Conti and Anna Jay. Serena Deeb, I mean, they're both really good in the ring. Deeb, she was focusing on Ty Conti's knee. And at the end match, Deeb won with her detox pile driver place plant maneuver. Or, yeah, excuse me. For the win, Deeb retains. Ty Conti, we know she has the look, and she can hang with anybody. But this is a good match between the two. And then we had the main event, Ron Cage versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. Early in the show, they had a good video package for this match. Darby Allin, he was getting thrown all over the place by Cage in this match. Like, geez, what a tough SOB is Darby Allin. He gave up over 100 pounds to Brian Cage, but he is a tough son of a gun. So in this match, like I said, Allin was getting thrown around. He got caught with a suplex to the outside. Brian Cage, he threw Darby Allin from the ring to the announcer's table, or to the timekeeper's table on the outside. Brutal spot. Darby, he was busted open. And yeah, so the tide turned when Brian Cage, he brought in the steel steps. And Darby Allin, he was fighting, he was biting the fingers of Brian Cage. Cage fell back first from the apron to the steel steps. Darby then hit a coffin drop on Cage on the steps, which kind of gained momentum back for Darby. Then at the end of the match, they were exchanging because Ricky Starks was the only one at ringside. So Darby went for a coffin drop. Starks throttled him on the top rope, but then the lights went out and Sting came out and took care of Starks with the baseball bat. And then Brian Cage went for, I believe, a fireman's carry Samoan drop-like maneuver on the top rope. And Darby countered into a crucifix, then pinned Cage 1, 2, 3, and retained the TNT Championship. Interesting main event. Darby, he went clean, and the way Darby has, it's weird to say about a champion, but with the way Darby has looked in matches as of late, besides ever since winning the TNT Championship, he kind of needed this win over Brian Cage, and he got a good win. Team Taz, I don't think this is over. I would like to see Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks, and perhaps Starks takes it from Darby Allin, something like that. But all in all, a good way to end the show. Was a good episode, Dynamite. Next week, we'll see, but hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a good show. Not really much to complain about. Yeah, good show. Hope you all being safe. I'll be back next week, obviously, with sports overview topics. But if you're new, like and subscribe, like I said. And I'll see you back next week.